Hey, what is going on everyone? Welcome back to another Clash Royale video, and in today's video we are going to be discussing the new 2v2 draft mode. Now, recently some of you have been giving me some great feedback on these guide videos that I've been doing, as well as some of the written guides that I've also linked in the descriptions and stuff. So thank you all for that, and I really hope that you all are benefiting from them, and I hope that you all will enjoy this one as well. So without further ado, let's get right to it. Now, many of you might be wondering, what is the 2v2 draft mode? Now, the 2v2 draft mode is basically what Supercell came up with after they decided to merge two concepts together, and these would be the draft mode and the 2v2 mode. Now, for those of you who don't know what these game modes are, let me just try to describe them for you. The draft mode was a concept that was inspired by two Clash Royale content creators, and these would be Nick at Night and Gaming with Molt. I'm sure many of you are familiar with who these are. So, in this challenge, both players are given 4 pairs of cards, and from these pairs, they are expected to choose one card from each. So, when the players are finished choosing their cards, the cards that they did not select will be drafted to their opponents, and basically you are expected to play with the 4 cards that you chose and the 4 cards that were drafted to you by your opponent. So that's basically how draft mode works, guys. And in the draft mode, you're also given an additional 30 seconds to the match just as it starts to consider what cards you wish to keep and what cards you wish to give away to your opponents. Now, the 2v2 mode was brought to us by the developer team after they received a lot of demand for it by all the players in the game. So eventually they managed to finish working on it and just release it for all of us to enjoy, much to our benefit. Now, in this game mode, 2 players are going to be teaming up against 2 rival players, similar to like what we would do in the 1v1 mode. But there is something that you should really take note of, and that is that there are more cards, more combos, more elixir, and most of all, folks, there is going to be more drama in the arena. So things aren't going to be the same like they would be in 1v1. Things are actually more hectic in 2v2 than anything else. Now, moving on to the 2v2 draft mode itself. So we already discussed what the 2v2 mode was and what the draft mode was. Now let's just discuss some of the things that you should really keep in mind when you are playing this 2v2 draft mode challenge. And first things first, the partners that you're going to be getting in the 2v2 draft mode is going to be completely, and I repeat, completely random. So there are no friends, no clanmates, no one that you can really rely on. Everyone is going to be different from the last person that you would have paired up with. However, there is still the chance that you might actually be paired up with someone that you fought alongside before. In fact, it is not, I repeat, not impossible for you to actually be paired up with the same person back to back in the 2v2 draft mode. Because as we would have seen in my last upload, I actually was fortunate enough to be paired up with someone again, because we just played one match before, and when we started the other match, we managed to be paired up on the same side again, and we already knew what the other person was running, so we had pretty good synergy then, because we were able to better understand what we had and what we were able to do together. Now, when you're playing this 2v2 draft mode, you're also going to notice that when you begin a match, you're actually going to be getting a whole minute of drafting time. Now, Supercell felt sorry for us, and they decided, you know what, there are 2 players and there are some tough decisions to be made, so they decided to give us a whole extra 30 seconds of drafting time. So that's pretty cool of them, and it just gives us more time to really think over the cards that we want to take and what cards we want to give away. Now, while we are on the topic of time, there's gonna be 3 minutes of overtime for every single match. So this means there's gonna be 1 minute of drafting time and 6 minutes overall of gameplay, which gives us a total of 7 minutes at most for any given match. So any match, if you take the entire 1 minute of drafting time and you run the match right up to the last second for that clutch win, or maybe even a draw or something like that, it is going to be 7 minutes of your time there, folks. And while you're playing the draft matches, it should also be noted that there are going to be 32 cards involved in any given match. Now, you and your ally are going to have 16 cards in total, and the same goes for your enemies. So overall, you're going to be drafting 8 cards towards your opponents, and they're going to be doing the same for you. So the cards are spread around generally, and in fact, there is the chance that your opponents can have the same card as you, meaning when you take a fireball for instance or a zap and you think it might be the only card in the match, it's actually not going to be the case because your opponents might actually have the choice between that themselves. Heck, even your partner could have the choice. So let's say I wanted to take a miner and I did, my partner could also do the same if the option was presented to him. So in any given match, again folks, there can be up to 2 of the same card available for grabs. Okay guys, let's discuss the drafting itself for a little bit now. So when you're drafting cards, you're going to be presented with 4 pairs of cards from which you are expected to choose one from each. Now, when you take a card, it is going to be displayed at the bottom of your screen, and when you give your opponents the other card, it is going to be displayed at the top of your screen. So the same thing can be said for your partner really, so you can really work together and take your time during that 1 minute of drafting to put together a solid deck. Now the crowns that you will be earning from this challenge will actually be going towards both your clan chest and your own personal crown chest. So it is actually in your best interest to get as much crowns as you can while playing the event so that your clan chest will be leveled up pretty darn high. And let's face it, even though you're helping out your clanmates by increasing the level of the chest, you're actually gonna be helping yourself most of all at the end of the day, because who's gonna be opening that chest? Isn't it gonna be you as well? So you might as well just push and see how much of a good clan chest you all can get together by working towards the high level clan chests. Okay folks, now that we've discussed some interesting things that you should really take note of while playing these challenges, let's just think about some interesting tips and tricks that you should really try out when you have the chance, or just be aware of. So our first tip is going to be to ensure that your internet connection is fairly stable. Now this might sound pretty obvious to all of you here, but let's face it, internet connection can be very crucial in deciding how a match can actually play out for you, because if you're going to be lagging in 2v2, that one moment of lag can actually make the difference between you winning a match, losing, or drawing. Because if you just lag out for one crucial moment, your opponents are going to swarm you, trust me. There's just so much elixir, so much cards, and so much things that can be done during a 2v2 match of any kind that the slightest delay in your responses can lead to your utter defeat. So be aware of it and just make sure when you do play that you are playing with a stable connection so that you won't be disappointing yourself and you will not be disappointing your partner as well. Now my next few tips are going to be kind of similar, but I'm gonna say it anyway because some of you just really need to make sure that you are aware of them. So our next tip is gonna be to ensure that your battery is charged and that your phone is refreshed. So you want to keep that battery charged for your device or whatever it is you're playing on, because it's not gonna help if you just run dead in the middle of a match. And if you restart your phone before playing the game and just give it a few seconds to really load everything that it has to load and make sure that nothing is downloading or updating, you can just make sure that you will not lag during the match, because my phone lags a lot and I often have to restart it a lot so that it runs pretty smooth. So just be aware of that and make sure that you are just running at optimal conditions. And our last redundant kind of tip here, really, yes, I know you all would be aware of these things, but ensure that you mute all social media and any kind of app that will have pop-up notifications, because trust me, you don't want a pop-up notification just distracting you in that one moment where you need to place a spell correctly for the win maybe, or to hit some troops, maybe to wake up your king tower with a tornado, anything like that, because when you're distracted in the game it really takes a toll on how you're going to be playing. So just make sure that you mute them for your own good. Now let's go back to the strategy part of the tips. So when you're drafting, you will want to think about the cards that you're giving your opponents and how you're going to be able to deal with them when you have the cards that you already took. So keep that in mind so you can make some better decisions. So if you gave them a goblin barrel, you damn well take that log if you have the option, or if you already got it. So just look for those opportunities to just think about what might be better to use and what might be better to give your opponents. And if it's any consolation guys, I would really recommend giving your opponent's clone spell and the raid spell when it's possible, because those generally have the least use in the game, so it can just be really annoying for them to use. However, if you already gave them something that is pretty dangerous, like maybe 3 muskets, be very skeptical about giving them it, because you might actually be helping them out in the long run. And again folks, when you are drafting your cards, look closely at what your ally is choosing, because you can help them build a better deck that will just synergize more with the cards that you would be taking, and make sure that they are able to really counter what he gave your opponents as well. Also, you might want to pick your win conditions very carefully based on what you already gave your opponents and what you already have, because depending on what you gave your opponents, they can shut down your win condition very easily, even if it's your favorite card. So be aware of it and take cards that complement the win conditions very well, or do the opposite. Take win conditions that support the cards that you took already. And remember, never forget to take cards that will be able to completely shut down certain cards that you gave your opponents. For example, if you gave your opponents minion horde, make sure that you take an arrow, or maybe you take some poison spells. Anything like that can work out in your favor. So as we already mentioned, taking specific cards there, let's also raise one more point, and that is to take cards that require specific counters, such as a goblin barrel or maybe a dart goblin, anything like that, because when you take cards that require specific counters, chances are your opponent may not have the ideal card to really deal with it, and this is just gonna cause them a lot of distress when they have to defend against it, or it can help you out a lot on defense if they can't push past it. So just keep those tips in mind there, and just remember one more key thing folks, and this one is by far one of the most important tips that I can afford to give you all, and that is to hover cards around the arena where you want to use them and when you want to use them. By doing this, you're going to be showing your teammate some of your intents for maybe pushing or defending, and the sooner you're able to do this, the sooner you're going to be able to have some sort of communication with your partner. Now even if you don't speak the same language, you're going to be able to really give them an idea of what you have in mind, and the sooner you do this, the better it's going to be for both of you, because you're going to have some better teamwork, and with better teamwork you're going to be able to do much greater things than you would normally. So that is going to be it for the overall tips. I hope you all really enjoyed them and that you really appreciated what I had to say. And now let's take a look at some of the cards that I would say are pretty darn helpful when you're playing this game mode. So our first card is going to be the rocket. Now the rocket is a great source of damage overall, and it is an excellent push killer. So just by keeping it handy, it can actually help you deny some of the gigantic slow pushes that your enemy will be trying to build up and use against you. And by a lesser extent really, it can actually help you snipe troops and buildings that have high value for the enemy on their side. So things such as an executioner, an elixir collector, or maybe other buildings such as a furnace, barbarian hut, or a goblin hut, things like that you can really just use the rocket on and make some good trades if you're able to hit the tower. So for a little extra elixir at times, you can get a lot of damage done and wipe out a threat that would be really threatening to deal with on your side. Now since we just mentioned the rocket, I'm also going to make mention of the lightning spell. The lightning is another great spell because it can help you cover a wide area of effect and target 3 troops of the highest HP really. So if you're able to just cast it over an area where you can catch 2 troops, 2 buildings, 1 troop and a building and the crown tower, it is going to pay you back a lot in return. So it's worth the 6 elixir overall just for the tactical usage. Just be careful of a battle ram or anything else that can really sponge up the damage that you want to do on the crown tower when it is critically low on HP. Now alongside these spells, I would also say that the poison spell and the tornado are really great because they cover a wide area of effect as well, some of the largest in the game I might add. So the poison is great for valuable trades because it often smothers a wide area and can really catch a lot of things in it. So it can act as a area of denial as well, plus it just catches a lot of things in it, so you can really get a lot of worth for that 4 elixir that you spend on it. And as a bonus, it is also a ideal graveyard counter if nothing else is available, because it can completely deny all the skeletons from spawning and reaching the tower for a +1 elixir trade. So it's just something that you should consider using. But if you have troops available, obviously you're going to want to use the poison spell on offense really, rather than defense. As for the tornado now, the tornado is really great because you can pair it up with splash troops to really lock down defense against some really strong monstrous pushes. And as a bonus, you can also use the tornado to skillfully just pull things to the king tower and get some extra firepower there up for defense. Now we have one more spell here really, and that is going to be the log. So not a big fan of the log myself really, but the log is still a very useful card because of its knockback effect, which can actually help you make ground troops retarget and even push them away from certain troops or buildings of high value. So it can really keep your opponent in check if they have certain troops such as the goblin barrel as well, because as long as you have that in hand, they can't really use it against you unless they manage to trick you into using it earlier, or they get crafty deploying the barrel itself. Now you would have heard me mention the goblin barrel a few times as well, and let me just say, the goblin barrel is a great source of damage against your opponent's towers, because if they don't have cards to really straight up counter it, such as arrows or the log like we mentioned before, it can really prove worth the 3 elixir. So it can be very lucrative when you just find those right moments to use it. And let's talk about some other troops that are very helpful. Some of these troops would include the executioner, bowler, and the baby dragon. Now the reason why I say this is because their splash damage is decent. They are excellent supporting as well as counter pushing units when you're using them on defense. And as an additional bonus, the executioner and bowler have area denial when they are facing certain directions and attacking it. So our next group of cards is going to be the miner, dart goblin, and the princess. Well, we all know I'm a die-hard miner fan here folks, so we don't need to discuss that too much, but let's discuss some of the more important details. So when you're playing with the miner, he can help you play mind games against your opponents while pushing, because you can change up his positions as you want, and he's a great source of chip damage with the additional bonus of being a secondary tank for your supporting units if you have a successful push going. Additionally, he can be used to take out troops while on the enemy side if your opponents are having trouble disarming your push. So that can be really good because it can help prevent any sort of a counter push being developed against you. So that's just something that you should keep in mind. Now, as for the princess and the dart goblin are both cheap and effective cards, especially when used on defense and on those counter pushes because of their long range attacks. Now the dart goblin is also fairly good because it can be used against many cards, like if they're exposed and they don't have a tank accompanying them, he can take them out quickly from a safe spot in the distance on your side, and he can also get a lot of chip damage done onto the enemy towers very fast. Additionally, he is a great card to use on defense against graveyards because of his high fire rate. Alrighty folks, we are almost done with listing these cards. We just have about 3 more to go, and our next card is going to be the balloon. Now the balloon is a very punishing card if it connects to the tower, as it is a very high damage dealing card, and its counters are just fairly simple to deal with. Some of the counters that are generally used are usually minions, minion hordes, maybe even a musketeer or an electro wizard, so you can always cast something like a poison spell to protect the balloon, or at least get some valuable trades off onto the enemy tower and their defending troops. As a bonus, the balloon also does death damage when it drops a bomb, and quite often it can actually catch a lot of troops or buildings in the radius of it, so it can be really handy when that thing detonates and splashes anything. And now folks, let's list the last 2 cards that we have up here for today's video. So these are gonna be the bandit and the battle ram. So these are 2 of my favorite cards in the game right now. Both can be used cheaply to apply lots and lots of pressure on the opposite lane when your opponent starts off a slow push in the back, when they drop something like a golem or a giant, or maybe even a lava hound or pecker. So the bandit is really great for chain kills when she can target things of medium and low HP that are spread some distance apart from each other, so we can get some really good momentum going there, and if you can back up with something like a zap spell, it's gonna be perfect. And lately she has just been so much fun to use because after she got her HP buff and the charge time buff, she just gets to the tower so much easier, and she's just more annoying for your opponent to really deal with. And as for the battle ram, it can deal massive damage if left unchecked when your opponent is pushing the opposite lane and you're able to really get it to the tower. If it gets the charge attack done, it deals a lot of damage, and even if it just gets the regular attack done, it is still pretty decent in terms of value because you have those regular barbarians being spawned after the log has been dropped. Now here's one more tip for you all, and that is that the battle ram can be used as a sponge for lightning spells, so you can either protect your troops or even your tower from a lightning user during those last moments of a match. So it is just something to really think about. So overall, both of these cards are really great because they can cause panic on the enemy side and give you the chance to really make some valuable trades if they spam a bunch of low HP troops in order to address them. So casting a pre-log, pre-zap, or even pre-arrows can help out a lot. So guys, I know the rewards aren't so great, so I'm not really going into great detail about them, but basically at 3 wins you're going to be getting a gold chest from your current arena, 5 wins you're going to be getting 1k gold, 7 wins there are going to be 10 rare cards available for you, and at 9 wins there's going to be 5,000 gold. So the rewards aren't that great again, but hey, if you manage to win the challenge, good job to you guys. Okay guys, let's just finish up this last fight here before we go. So I'm playing with Armin here, and we have 3 of the biggest tanks in the game. We have got the Giant Skeleton, the Lava Hound, as well as the Royal Giant. So we've got a lot of big tanks on our side at our disposal. So our opponents are playing Bandit here, and we're able to shut them down pretty darn well. And I wanted to protect this princess, honestly, I really did, but I was not sure how to do so really, given that we were broke on elixir there, and they also dropped their mine as well. So that goes down, and I don't know why Armin decides to rush with a Lava Hound while the princess is up still there. I guess he really did not want us to take any significant amount of chip damage, I guess. I'm really not sure why. Generally he should have just used something else and took the damage, but hey, at least he helped us get that tower there down. And now our opponents are trying to take us down with the graveyard there, and they even go so far as to rocket down our expo. So we are trying to push here on the left lane to keep the pressure up. Unfortunately, that giant skeleton was not quick enough to tank for the hog rider. Thankfully, we are going to get some good lightning value here, and we take down the witch as well as some good HP on that barbarian hut. Now take a look at this bandit here. I dropped the ice spirit to defend against it, and look at that. The Ice Spirit actually beats it to the punch. I'm not sure how, but the Ice Spirit managed to come through for us, and he froze the bandit in place while she was dashing. So that's pretty darn interesting. I'll have to highlight that in the next video because today's video is running a bit long and I don't want to make it any longer. So hope you guys are cool with that. And now they're just rushing with a double graveyard here, and I'm just gonna defend with my witch and use the hog rider there on defense, just making sure nothing else is damaging our tower. And that is gonna be GG, well played, and better luck next time. So folks, that is gonna be it for this fight. And that is just about going to wrap things up for today's video. Hope you all enjoyed the video today, and if you did, remember to share the video with any friends or family, anyone that you think would enjoy the type of content that I am putting out. Now, remember guys, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to check out some of the older videos that I would have had uploaded previously, because chances are you're going to see something really interesting in them that you might not have seen before anywhere else. So do check them out if you have the time. And remember guys, if you keep on digging, you'll eventually strike gold, but even then, keep on digging deeper. You'll eventually come across something even more worth your while. So once again everyone, thanks for stopping by, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Peace out guys.